Full time at Kings Park, 54 points to nil. A second half performance for the ages ready from the All Blacks. Dreadful conditions down in Durban. And in the first half, that basically emulated that. But a very, very strong All Black side. Took a while to get going, but once they did, and in the second half, after a bit of a halftime break, things got out of hand very, very quickly. And were it not for the conditions, potentially could have been a lot worse for the Sharks. But I suppose it was to be expected to a certain degree. It was a much stronger All Black side being picked, and not a particularly strong Sharks side. Before we get into it, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Probably a little bit frustrating in terms of the Sharks side, in that a couple of big names missing over and above the ones that are kind of sort of injured, or at this, as far as we know, are injured or with the box. So it wasn't anywhere near a first team Sharks side. I mean, if you look at the front row that came on in the second half of the Sharks, 19, 20, and 21 years old. So it kind of gives you a bit of an idea of the type of experience the Sharks side had. And they started all right in the first half. In the first 10, 15 minutes, they actually had 87% possession. They started well. They had a nice counterattack, but they couldn't really finish. And the difference between club sides and an international side is things like your finishing and your strike rate and being clinical in the sort of situations. And the All Blacks were just more clinical at the end of the day. It wasn't a pretty game in any stages of the match. It got a lot better in the second half, and I do think that the left-hand side of the field was a lot wetter, and the All Blacks were kind of attacking that side. And the right-hand side tended to be a bit dry, which is what the All Blacks had in the second half. And not to say it was much, much better, but less kind of puddles. So it took a while to get going. The first try coming in just about the 18th or 19th minute. But once they started going, it didn't really look back in the second half. I mean, at halftime at 14-0, you're thinking that's probably not a bad effort from the Sharks side, but then it got really, really bad. In terms of your All Blacks point scorers, Ruben Love was very good off the team, missing just one. And we then had Beninganofo getting 2 tries to his name. Derry, Carl Preston, Caleb Clark, Joey Barrett, McKenzie, and Tamatava Nawa also on the scoreboard. The big worry for the All Blacks will be Damian McKenzie, who went off in the first half with an ankle injury. And could this be another casualty of rugby's greatest rivalry tour? This is where I said, can the All Blacks survive South Africa? It wasn't about beating the South African sides. Can they get the squad through 3 matches for the first test, and then 4 club games after that, and before the second test in total? Can they get them through those games without losing too many injuries? And we've already lost Willie Proctor. We've already lost now potentially Damian McKenzie. And this is kind of the issue. We saw the same thing with British and Irish Lions last year with someone like Thomas Williams pulling up. So you're always going to have injuries, and that's the big thing now. The Boks, for example, have pretty much got a week and a bit to get everybody up to sort of standard. They don't have to play again this weekend, for example. What we've got from injuries is kind of what we got. From the All Blacks, now they'll have to wait and see how does everybody respond tomorrow to recovery. How do they get through Saturday? And that's the real challenge within this tour. So in the end, 61% possession for the All Blacks. And if we look at some of the snapshot, they're 8 tries, 7 conversions, 554 meters run, 204 passes, and 4 more turnovers conceded over there. So, yeah, I mean, we'll look at the sort of the timeline. You can kind of see how things in the first half took a while to get going. I said 19 minutes, and then the next try coming in just before the 28th minute. And then we had half time, and then it just got bang, 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 bang. The coolest moment of the game was probably the fact that Marnoni got onto the park and got in a haka of himself. He threw down the gauntlet to the All Blacks, which was quite a cool moment. Probably one of the better parts of the match itself. Because if you look at the stats in general, it's very one-sided. Caleb Clark with the most carries, Carl Preston had the most running meters. Emmanuel Tuka put in a big shift. I think that's the big thing. Did any Sharks players kind of stand up? And I think Emmanuel Tuka was one of them. He definitely tried to take it to the line. Urenta Julius was quite disappointing and didn't get enough ball in hand. We kind of knew that. Vusi Moya as well, quiet game, especially in the second half. The Sharks basically had next to no possession. Zigatilo Siaya was something we were really excited about. Didn't adapt to the conditions at all. And that was the problem. They had a couple of exciting backline players that we couldn't really get into the game. But, the set pieces, the scrums were much better from an All Black side, especially in the first half. They started getting at the better of them. They weren't phenomenal. They've yet to really dominate. They had a couple of scrums where they dominated, but they've yet to really, throughout the entire match, just completely hammer away at one of the South African sides. And it's not going to get any easier against the Bulls this weekend. You know, we're probably expecting to see the likes of a Morne Smith involved, potentially Steve Satole. You know, you could see some very talented front rowers. You know, when the Lions get going, they've also got some nice props to go. So the set piece from a scrum point of view looks very interesting. What the All Blacks definitely did do is they responded to the mauled a lot better. And in general, probably I think we're a little bit slicker. But this is the team and the combinations that have been probably playing a little bit more as well. So it was supposed to a certain degree a little bit expected that they would get structurally a lot better over there. So frustrating game, because I think it's just it's not saying ruin the occasion, but it's sad to not have been able to have had a proper Sharks side have a go. You know, the Stormers gave them a bit of a scare, and even then it wasn't as close to a stronger Stormers side, but they gave them a scare because there was enough quality within that Stormers side. A Dion Fourie, you know, who had an absolute stormer of a game. You know, Yakin Ahmed having a really solid game. Warwick Galant having a good game. Vernon Matonga. You need these sort of experienced players that stood up for the Stormers. You know, Andrew Hugo Fenter, you know, within the box squad. So these are players who have been at that level. And this is the thing, you need more of those players. You know, if you're throwing in a Bongi Mnambi, a Maximum Mapimpi, Stefan Levis, you know, these are kind of players who have played at these levels. You know, your two Hendrickson brothers, if they're fit. These are players who have played at that level. And I think it becomes a lot easier to contend and to be less of a starstruck and have guys who can get over the advantage line and kind of pull you forward. And that's why I'm excited for this weekend, because there are those sort of players. You know, there's Ambrose Sapir, Cohen Bosch is back in the mix. You know, you're going to have a Marcel Coetzee over there. You've got Chiswell Eustace. You've got the combination of a bit of the experience. You've got Honor Liebenberg back in the mix. You know, you've got your JF and Heerns and the like. So you've got a very strong Bulls squad that can hopefully pitch up this weekend. From an All Blacks point of view, it's job done. And this will give them a lot of confidence that they managed to run in those kind of tries in really tricky conditions. They might have lost the McKenzie injury, but everybody else seemed to have come through relatively well. They got a lot of confidence coming out of this game. Somebody like a Ruben Love will take a lot of confidence out of the game. But in general, probably not too much, because I think they'll be very aware that they've yet to face something that's going to be quite similar to what the Boks going to bring in about 11 days' time. Let me know what you thought about the game down in the comments below. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steve. I'll chat to you soon.